Hi, I'm Georgia, if you haven't met me. If you have met me, it's still Georgia. A little bit about me, I've been at Expensify for about 7 months now, and I've mostly been working on implementing our new branding. Some of my favorite pastimes include running, drawing, volunteering at film festivals, and bugging our designer Sean as to whether this icon should be this color or this color. Yes, those are two different colors. Today I'm going to be taking you through some of the resources that we have available so that when you implement our next feature, your life is 10 times easier. But before we do that, I'm going to rewind a little bit and tell you a quick little story. Back last fall, this is what our app looked like. Looks cool, but we had just completed our new branding at the time. We had all of these awesome new colors, and Sean came up with this, which you might recognize, dark mode. I was like, cool, this is gonna be easy. I'll implement dark mode. Except at the time, our color system was kind of a mess. We had colors being imported everywhere, hex codes inline. We had a system, it just wasn't being utilized. Guess how many files it took to change to dark mode? 28. 28 files to switch to dark mode. Now check this out, if it'll load. This is one file, one line. Give it a second. Light mode. Yeah. This is why it's so important for engineers to think about how we implement design. The goal is to, when you're implementing styles or design, to make it easier for the next time around. Now, if we're going to go and implement colors again, it's going to be a quick one file change. And nobody in here is going to get my PR review and go, ugh, 20 files or 50 files, if anyone in here was with my avatar PR. I'm looking at you, Alex. Anyways, so what exactly is a design system? A design system, if you remember Sean's talk from Wednesday, is all of these different pieces that we have at Expensify. So we have word mark, icon mark, different components that we use throughout the app. All of these parts make up the visual appeal of our application. It's what sets us apart from our competitors and puts us on top. It's important to know where these things live in the app. We have different file systems for all of these. So for example, if we go back, our icons live in the assets folder. We import them through expense icons. How do we pronounce that? Expense icons, yeah? And then from there, we can use them as source code whenever we're using an icon in the app. As for our design flow at Expensify, the way that I think of design flow is you start with an idea, you pass that idea to Sean or TCW, and they make it reality. And then our job as engineers is to bring it to life. So to kind of illustrate, if your idea is to discover the secrets of life and death, you give that to Sean and TCW, they give you Frankenstein's monster, and we are all on lightning duty. All right, bad puns aside. I thought it would be better if I just showed you some of the stuff that you could be working on. If anybody in this room is interested in working on any of these projects, please shout out in the room because we are looking to get some of this stuff in the app. So first off, you may remember we have all these cool animations that we're building. We're continually adding to our animation library, but we don't currently have any animations in app. These are going to live up here on the setting page. So we have this cool spaceship animation, for example. We also have the background image to animate for the chat, which will go right in the back there. Another project to work on is the avatar picker. So this is a cool one. If anyone wants to work on that, again, come talk to me. We also have some cool stickers to add to the app as well. And finally, light mode, which has been greenlit and we'll be working on. Awesome, right? Now you may be wondering, where do we keep all this stuff? Well, we use Figma to house all of our mockups and everything. For engineers that do have access to Figma, there are some really cool resources to use when you're implementing styles. So if you've gotten a feature that you have a mockup for, you can go into Figma, you can click on the component, go up here, click inspect, and then you'll get CSS right down at the bottom. Now, this is React Native. We can't just take the CSS and put it inside our project because we're also developing for mobile platforms. So there's some things that you should be aware of ahead of time while implementing styles in React Native. One example of a property that doesn't exist in React Native is the view height. So you can't set anything to view height like you would in web. That doesn't work in React Native. So you'll have to, for example, you'll have to calculate the height or use flex styling. Another thing you should be aware of is that React Native uses box sizing border box essentially. So if you're setting a component to like width 100, height 100, it's also going to include the padding inside. So if you have any padding, you need to account for that with sizing. Finally, with React Native, I'm sure that we're all aware of this, but responsive design is very important. So this is one of our designs for the sign-in page imagery we had recently, which is a really cool design. But if you think about it, as you squish that page, the hand image is going to intersect with the words, and it's not going to look great. Because this is the landing page for our site, this is really important that it stretches and squishes properly. So here's an example of a design that's more responsive. And these are things you want to think of ahead of time when you're in the design doc phase, so that you don't come a week into a PR and hit a keyboard bug and spend the entire week pinging every single channel like me. Don't be me. You guys are all smart. Think ahead, think about keyboards, think about how your design is going to respond to different sizes. So next up, we have our Expensify styling practices. These are internal styling guide, essentially. You can find all the information in the styling guide in the contributing guides. Now for this part, I thought I would take advantage of the chat rooms and do something a little different. I'm kind of making this up as we go, so if everyone could scan the QR code. What we're gonna do is, I'm sure you guys are all tired of hearing people talk, so I'm actually just gonna make you tell me the style guides by showing you 2 examples on the screen, and you are going to emoji react with what you think is the correct style. So let me just pull up the chat. No? Is it too big? Okay. If you can't scan the QR code, there's a link in the announce channel. No? It might just be too big. Yeah? Okay. Anyways, so for question number 1, I already posted in the channel. If you could react with either a cherry or a lemon, I don't know if you can all read this. Which of these is correct akin to Expensify's style guides? So yes, it is the lemon. We are importing styles from a large styles sheet that we have in styles.js, and then we also have style util functions that are located in stylesutils.js. Next question. Creating a new style. I want you to pay attention to the style section here. Which of these 2 is correct? All right. This is actually a really important one. It's actually the one on, it's actually this one on the left that's correct. This is part of the reason our style guide is so massive. Whenever we actually want to avoid creating styles for separate components as much as possible. So if we're reusing styles, it is okay to have them in an array like this within the component. And that is the preferred version of Expensify. Next question. Number 3. This has to do with inline styles. Yes, great. Everyone's got that one real fast. Next, styles as props. If you're passing in any styles as property, which of these is correct? Ooh, so this one is another one. You actually want to pass in an array of styles whenever you are passing in styles as a property, and then you will use the spread operator to spread them out. That's our guides. That's our design. Yeah, so the point is you do always want to pass in an array of styles if you're passing in styles at all. I have one more, or I think I have two more questions. This one has multiple correct answers, so all of the correct answers, if you could emoji react, these are they're all in the food section, if that helps. All right, so for this one, they're actually all correct except for this one up here. We use a style system, so everything needs to be 2 to the power of x. So margin bottom 5 would not work with that. This MB5 means 2 to the power of 5. Cool, yes. So it is using theme colors is the correct answer. Although I don't, yeah? So actually I have a slide on that. So for colors.js, this is where we host all of our hex codes. If you're adding a new color to app, that's going to go in colors.js. And then if you're going to use that color, you're going to add a color key to our theme in default.js, and then link it to the colors that you added into colors.js. So there shouldn't be any hex anywhere except for in colors.js. All right, that ends this section. A little bit of a test round. But we have one more tool to talk about, which is imagine this, you're in our app, you've just recolored a button, but it's like all the way at the end of the bank form, and getting to that button to test it is going to be a nightmare. Well, we have a solution for you, and that solution is Storybook. Storybook is pretty much this box that you can test UI in. So if you can see up here, you just run npm run Storybook, and then you can test your component in different sizes. You can test, you can add controls, so you can test different properties and all of that. That way you don't have to go through the entire bank form in order to get to your button every time. More information about that can be found in Storybook. Yes, this doesn't replace, Storybook does not replace testing. Storybook is a way for you to test just the way your component looks. Yeah, so it's just for UI and styling. It's not for like how your component acts or reacts to anything. So like, no, for example, if you had like an avatar, like our avatars default to the default avatar when offline, or if there's an error with the source. So you could test that out by like triggering the default, making sure that you're seeing the correct fallback avatar in Storybook before, like without having to like go into offline and all of that. So to put it all together, you've got a new component that's due tomorrow. You're gonna think it through. How is this gonna look on all of these different screen sizes? How is it gonna react to the keyboard? Et cetera, et cetera. You're gonna work with the design team. You're gonna say, hey, Sean, I need this mockup. If you send him a list of requirements, he will create a mockup for you. If you have any questions, you can also ping me. If you have access to Figma, you'll go into Figma, you'll check out your spacing, margins, get all of that fun stuff. You're gonna check out our style guide and make sure you know the rules and that you're following them. You're going to reduce, reuse, recycle styles. We don't want to have a style per every component. And you're going to go into Storybook and test it out. And then ship it. The goal of this presentation is that your life should be easy at the end of this. If you remember back in the beginning with dark mode, if you were able to, if you go back to the beginning to dark mode, by designing the system in a way where we're able to make that change a one-line change instead of like a 50 file change, it makes your life easy for the future. That way, you're not spending hours and hours scrolling through styles.js. and it doesn't even all fit here. So let's improve it together, because design is ongoing and we're going to keep iterating through. That way, you can spend less time scrolling through Style.js and more time sipping pina coladas by the pool. Thank you.